On Tuesday, I posted a video noting that I think that there are 3 reasons why research students in higher degrees like a doctorate of business administration or even some master's programs where master's theses are being written do not make as much progress as they would like and as quickly as they would like with their research projects seeking to solve practical problems. In that video, I claimed that I firstly believed it's because they didn't have the right research design. Maybe they'd not heard of design science research yet, and as a result, they were not aware that there was this approach to doing academically informed but practice relevance research in a relevant way. Secondly, that even if they did know that this research design was available to them, they didn't know how to go about writing up their research proposal in an effective manner, especially the research design chapter. And so they were in some way probably going to be stuck at that phase of the research project because they couldn't address that writing task as effectively as they would like. To try and support students in this situation, I recently posted a chapter outline with guidance notes for all of the subsections of a chapter for a standard, linear, and relatively basic design science research project, which goes through all of the 5 phases on ResearchGate. If you're interested in that, go to the notes of this video and you will find a link to it. And then finally, the third reason I think why students may not be making as much progress and as effectively, especially as they would like, with their research project aimed at academically informed solutions to practical problems in the business world, is that they're skipping stages in the design science process. Most likely already focusing on the development of an artifact that is the solution to a practice problem that they know about. Today I'd like to talk a little bit more about these 3 problems and how I've come to think about them and how I try and help students that are dealing with these challenges. The first is simply a matter of awareness. So in most academic programs, even at the higher levels, design science research is relatively novel outside of information systems research in business schools. And so I'm not surprised that students may not have heard about it before, and if they have heard about it, that the research design is quite novel. Part of the reason why I'm doing this series of videos is to inform people and create that awareness of this established research design, which is exactly focused on solving real-world practical problems in an academically rigorous manner by doing design science research. Once that awareness is present, the novelty of this approach, even though it's well established in other domains, will mean that there's unlikely to be the same level of expertise for supervising design science research projects unless a business school is actively focused on doing applied research. And even then, it may not be as mainstreamed into the teaching of research and research design for higher level degrees as alternatives such as case study research or survey research might be the case. Essentially, that means that not only the student but also the supervisor has to learn and understand what design science research is. I've been very fortunate over the last 5 years to benefit from the experience of much more experienced colleagues of mine at the business school where I've worked and continue to work in Switzerland. And I've been able to become not only aware but familiar in doing design science research, recognizing design science research in my own projects, and also supervising students in the execution of their projects. My advice to students who find themselves in a situation where they've become aware of design science research, find it attractive, but are not able to find the necessary supervision capacity within their school, is to look for opportunities for funding from the side of the school to fill that gap. Most programs have some capacity for students to undertake training, participate in courses or get coaching for those aspects of their research design where they need to look outside of the school for expertise. As part of what I do at Null Point Ventures, I seek to fill that gap for students that might find themselves in that situation. This can of course be done in a self-taught manner, and to that end I posted a relatively detailed set of notes within a classic, or what I would understand to be a relatively standard or classic structure for a research design chapter for a design science research project to ResearchGate. The link is in the description to this video. And I've included all of the literature that I and also the students that I've supervised in recent years have found useful for executing this kind of project. A lot of it comes from information systems literature, but there is increasingly also an acknowledgement of this approach in both entrepreneurship and strategy type research papers. And I've included those as well. So if you're a student at a business school seeking to do a research project as the end project to their degree, either a master's thesis or a doctorate of business administration thesis that is seeking to solve practical problems, this chapter outline could be a very useful additional resource to help you organize your thoughts and maybe identify efficiently what papers to read first. I use these kinds of chapter outlines in the coaching work that I do with students that have budget for seeking this kind of third-party advice, and it helps us to have a productive conversation from the very beginning of those conversations. Of course, should you decide to look for support in understanding this approach to doing applied research, you should always first speak to your supervisor in the school to make sure that you conform to the rules and regulations for your program. But normally, this is not too much of a problem, and the program administrators and supervisors recognize that it might be useful for you to get external training for those aspects of the research project that cannot internally be covered. In fact, this is, in my experience, relatively standard practice, and I would encourage you to do that. The outline that I've posted is essentially a self-study guide, and with a little bit of effort and time, quite a bit of time to read the content that is suggested, you should be able to self-teach yourself as well as an alternative to actually seeking coaching. Finally, the third reason why I think students who are attuned to the practical problem and motivated to solve the practical problem may not be making progress in the way that they want is that they might be skipping stages in the project process. From a design science perspective, the way that I think about this, there's the awareness phase where you try and understand the problem you're trying to solve. Then there's the suggestion phase where you're coming up with a set of requirements for the artifact that is going to be developed to solve the practical problem. That is dependent on your awareness of the problem and understanding of it from the first phase. And then there's the artifact development phase. And of course, students who come out of practice, have been practicing managers or have been or are a business owner, will be highly motivated by the practical problem they're trying to solve. Within the context of a degree program where a thesis is being written, it becomes very challenging if you have that practical problem and its solution at the forefront of your mind from the very beginning. Of course, it's never going to go away if you already have identified what you think might be the foundations of a solution, but you have to make an active effort to do the process. This means, as I think about it, that we can really think about design science research projects for theses as part of a university degree program, be that a university which is not applied or an applied, in which they observe there is a practical problem that needs to be solved, but that practical problem is not yet fully understood. And for these students, it's most natural to start with the awareness phase, to read the literature, to better conceptualize that problem for themselves, and then to also go out and probably in, I would suggest, 90% of the cases, do interviews with other experts that are aware of and understand that problem as well, so that the student has a more comprehensive understanding and awareness of the problem and all of the dimensions to the problem. For those students, the process will unfold relatively intuitively along the phases, because once that initial work has been done, the suggestion phase can be followed in a set of requirements for an artifact that is intended to be developed, be that a process, be that a framework, be that a set of workshops as a practical engagement for solving the problem. Whatever the artifact might be will logically follow one from the other. But there's a second category of candidate for these kinds of theses that not only is aware of and understands the problem, but also because of their professional experience has a strong inkling already for how they think the problem might be solved. And for them, the challenge is to not be drawn towards the artifact development phase too quickly. For this student, it's important to understand that the awareness phase is still relevant. And it's not relevant because they don't understand the problem for themselves yet, or they may not have a sense of what could be done to solve the problem. The awareness phase is almost more important for them because it gives them an opportunity to question their assumptions. By going back to the awareness phase, turning to the literature, reading what has been researched about that phenomenon that they're studying already, and taking the time to seek out experts that may have more critical takes on the problem or a different perspective on the problem can broaden their understanding of the specific business problem that they would like to solve. For this student, the awareness phase also increases the relevance of the final solution that they're going to create. Exactly in the same way that it does for the student that is not in that situation where they already have a good sense of the problem and an inkling of what they think the solution could be. So it's really important in all research projects and in design science research as well, regardless of what the preset conditions are for the student coming to the project, that we start with the awareness phase. Doing the awareness phase in a rigorous and serious manner, the student that is being drawn to solve the problem from very early on in the process is able to bring more criticality to their research project. From this, they can then go on to develop a set of requirements which will, in all likelihood, be more rigorously developed, and as a result, probably more comprehensive than they would originally have developed had they not done the awareness phase. The expectation would be that the solution that they developed in the form of their artifact will be a more relevant artifact to the problem that they want to solve. Excuse me. So, those are just some of my thoughts on three of the things that I've observed in design science research projects and the coaching of these projects in the recent few projects that I've supervised that I thought might be useful to share with you. If something has struck you in this video and you would like to get more support with this kind of research design and a project that you're doing, I do offer support outside of Switzerland via my company to students, especially those doing doctorates of business administration. I would love to hear from you. You can find my email and contact information in the description to this video. Have a great day.